Welcome back, Mr. Singhateh. So we resume proceedings. May I take this opportunity to remind you again that it is a criminal offense in the laws of this country to lie under oath. It is also an offense to provide false testimony to the Truth Commission. You understand that, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
Before I resume the questioning proper, I just want to get this confirmation from you that you have received a document containing warnings informing you that, among other things, you have a right not to incriminate yourself. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir, I do.
In your testimony today, you have clearly incriminated yourself in crimes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do we take it that you incriminated yourself in crimes in full knowledge of your right not to incriminate yourself, and the fact that you had previously been warned not to incriminate yourself?
Yes, sir, I fully understand.
Do you agree that you have been warned not to incriminate yourself by way of a document which you have signed prior to your testimony?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So now let's proceed with regards to Alaji Kebe. His description of events is completely at odds with yours. You realize that?
Yes, sir, I do.
And in fact, how he was dealt with soon after the shooting is also at odds with your description.
Yes, sir.
In fact, I want to read out from this transcript of his testimony. And I am reading from line 717 of page 33 of the transcript. Let me give you the date of the transcript. The date of the transcript is Tuesday, 9th April 2019. And in line 717, this is what he had to say. He was asked, "What were you feeling at that time?" referring to the time after he was shot. And he responded as follows: "I was feeling horrible. Somebody who is shot, you cannot estimate the pain you have at that time. So when I fell, he meant to say, he went to extend to complete me once and for all." He referring to you. So he was stopped by Sana. So that is where I was lying down. I was lying on a pool of blood. So Sana asked me to get up. I told him, "Sir, I cannot. On my own, he decided to assist me to get up later. Later on, he felt reluctant. He decided to sit back and call my name. 'Corporal Kebe.' I said, 'Yes, sir.' He said, 'Try and get up.' I forced myself with the help of the left leg. At that time, this right leg was completely finished. So I sit back. Then I started feeling the pain, which I cannot estimate. I asked them to finish me once and for all because I cannot resist the pain. So that is the time Sana started shouting, 'Call me the medic, call me the medic.' They rushed and called the medic. They came with the first aid kit, and they tell them, 'You cannot treat this man here. He is dying in our hands. Take him.' That is how I was dragged to the clinic. What do you say to that?
Well, I say it is also contrary to the evidence that Sana also gave, the one that you presented here, the one that you read out to me. And this is not a true, accurate, an accurate depiction of what happened.
What is the contradiction?
Sorry, with Sana's? Sana said that he applied a tourniquet. This man said that they called for the medics, and then he was rushed to the hospital. He was taken to the clinic. As far as I can recall, that is where he was taken.
Yes, there may not necessarily be a contradiction. This guy said they came with the first aid kit, and somebody said, you cannot treat this man here. He is dying in our hands. That is when they took him to the clinic. And Sana also said that he called the medics. He asked that he be taken to the clinic. The only thing that is missing in this man's statement is that Sana applied the tonic, whatever it is, and this man limits himself to saying that they brought a first aid kit. So there isn't much of a contradiction, a material contradiction for that matter.
In fact, he didn't even fall off the chair. He sat on the chair.
Well,
and as far as I can recall, there was no conversation between him and Sana, and he was not saying that the pain is too much, that one should finish him. No, he kept quiet. He was in shock.
Well, this is the witness saying he said that.
I don't doubt that, but what I can recall are the facts that I have already presented with the commission, to the commission, sorry.
Which essentially is denying responsibility for the shooting.
No, sir, I am not.
Denying being the person who actually fired the shot that injured Alaji Kebe.
Yes, sir.
Even in the face of the victim's own evidence that he was there, he saw you, and that you are the one who fired a shot at him.
Sir, I have already told the commission that I had shot somebody else. The commission was not aware of that. Whatever I have done, I will admit. What I have not done, I cannot admit to that.
We appreciate that. What I am doing is presenting the evidence to you, because the commission has to be able to assess how you react to the evidence presented to you. Is it just simple denials, mere denials, or is it a denial that is based on something concrete? Or is it just an avoidance of responsibility? So I have to put the evidence to you. Not only did Kebe, who's the victim sitting there, seeing you, has testified that you fired the shot at him, Sana Sabali, the vice chairman of the AFPRC at the time, also supported Kebe's testimony that you fired a shot at him.
Well, sir, I would just like to remind the commission that even among the testimonies of what happened at Yundum camp immediately we returned from Fajara barracks, you've got several different versions.
But let's focus on this one.
Yes, sir. I just want to explain that it is not unusual for you to have different versions of the same story, or of the same event, because it happened so long ago.
But in this instance, Mr. Singhateh, you have the actual victim saying, he fired at me. You have the person sitting right next to the alleged shooter. That person also said that this person is the shooter. You have a third person who was also a bystander pointing to the same person as the shooter. You think all three of them lied against you?
So I'm not saying that they lied. I'm just saying that they did not see me discharge that round into his leg.
So
I
all
was holding my pistol and pointing, and I threatened him that I would shoot. And then, pam, like everybody had said, somebody shot him from the side.
so it was just a coincidence. I will shoot you, and pam, it went. They
No,
say
no,
it's Edward
it
Singhateh.
was not one threat. It was a process of interrogation. That is exactly what it was. Look, I have already admitted to things that are much graver. And I said, like I said, if I did it, I would have had no problems owning up to it. But sorry, if you would allow.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I do admit that the whole circumstance surrounding this was really my fault. I am at error, and as an officer, I take my responsibility.
Yes, Mr. Singhateh, that may very well be okay on a moral side of things, but the commission would make its decision not on the basis of moral issues, but on legal considerations. And what we have seen is an avoidance of direct responsibility whenever you are accused of being the person who shot. You avoid responsibility for that and claim responsibility on the basis of some moral ground. We are focused and fixated on the legal considerations. The evidence we have so far of all the people who were present there, who've been interviewed, all three of them pointed at you as the shooter. You deny that.
Yes, sir. Just because there are 3 or 10 doesn't mean that it happened in that manner.
But it is more likely that their story would be more believable than the story of the accused person who cannot even identify who the shooter is.
So for me, my conscience is more important. As long as my conscience is clear in an issue, it doesn't matter how funny it looks. I will stick to what I know.
Mr. Singhateh, is it conscience here, or is it an effort to run away from direct responsibility?
Sir, I am not running away from direct responsibility.
So the commission has the evidence, and
Yes,
the
sir.
commission would make up its mind as to who the shooter was. But I just remind that in the face of 3 different types of participants in this process, the direct victim, the person who was right next to the alleged perpetrator, and another person who was present there, all of them pointing to one person as being the shooter. And that person conveniently said, I merely threatened, and as I was threatening, a shot went bam, it was in me, it was somebody else. It smells like that person is running away from responsibility.
Sir, it's not convenience. The convenient thing for me to have done was to just say, yes, I did it, and apologize and beg for forgiveness.
But that does not
Sir,
absolve one from responsibility, does it?
No, it does not. But even within the face of this evidence, it also may not as well. In fact, I'm even going out on a limb, because if at all, at the end of the day, the commission feels that no, this man misled the commission, I am in even more trouble. So I am just trying to state exactly the facts as I recall and what I know, even if it means me being seen in a light that is not good for me.
Well,
And even if it means somewhere down the line I will face the consequences. Just because there are some people who have said this is the way it happened doesn't mean that it exactly happened that way.
Well, if the people who said it have a reason to know, they were present there, they saw it happen, they have no reason to lie against you, and they give this story, which is consistent in every material particular, don't you think their testimony ought to be believed?
Sir, I just know one thing, is that this commission has already received testimony about the killing of Fafanyang, about EMCC, about Bakari Kamara, which are completely divergent of one another. The same event, but so many different narrations.
It's Basiru Kamara.
Sorry, Basir, so many different narrations of the same event.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say
Mr.
is that
Singhateh,
being such a long time ago, it is difficult to actually get the facts consistent from everyone. There would be some people who have seen it in a different manner.
but whatever you may say with regards to the evidence on about Basiru Kamara, EMCC, and Fafanyang, it wasn't even necessary to go into that because you have accepted giving
No,
the
I'm
order.
not. I'm not talking about myself.
Just a moment.
Yes.
You have accepted giving the order for those killings, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I did.
Good. So it's not necessary to go into all those details any further.
I was given an example.
Yes. But on this particular one, and unlike the cases you've just identified, there is great consistency between the three witnesses, or among the three witnesses. All of them point to you as the shooter. And that is a fundamental difference, isn't it?
So you know what my concern is? That somehow on certain events, there is an uncanny consistency, whilst other events there is complete divergence of views.
But isn't that natural, Mr. Singhateh?
That is
Isn't
exactly what I'm coming to say.
That is
Because it
absolutely
is
normal.
natural, then why are you giving that these three testimonies more weight than what I said? I can only tell you what I know.
But isn't that only natural, Mr. Singhateh?
Sir,
You have three witnesses. All of them give a story that is strikingly similar and consistent against the statement of the accused or the person being accused, which is a mere denial. What is more likely to believe?
sir, vis-a-vis the time that has passed and the so many different stories that have come out subsequently, definitely it is odd that that such a thing has happened. Because I know for a fact.
What is odd that has happened?
No, what is odd is that these three have, well, in fact, Fati's testimony is not consistent 100% with either of them.
In the material elements, they are consistent, 100%.
Yes, but you cannot just cherry pick the evidence. You have to take it within context.
Mr. Singhateh, we are all lawyers.
Yes.
We both lawyers. We all know that you focus on the relevant and material parts. You don't have to focus on every little element. You don't have to focus on all the nitty-gritties. You have to focus on those material bits and not everything. In every situation, when two people see something, they all see things differently.
Sir, facts that are relevant to the fact in issue
Exactly.
are
Facts
relevant.
that are relevant.
Facts that are relevant to the fact in issue have to be taken into consideration. And that is what I'm trying to point out. The surrounding facts that are relevant to the fact in issue, which is the shooting, are inconsistent. And I would like the commission to look at that, not just look at...
Mr. Singhateh, what is consistent is the fundamental issues. Who pulled the trigger that shot the victim? That is the material issue here. And all three witnesses are consistent and referred to you. If you deny, you continue to deny, we would leave it at that and the commission would make up its mind. But it looks like that it is more likely that the evidence of these three consistent witnesses is more believable than the evidence of the person who is accused of having committed the violation, who offers nothing else beyond I merely threaten and coincidentally bang, the person is hurt.
So, you know, I'm aware of all of this. And like I told you, I could have easily taken the easy route out. But
is that the easy
if I
way
stand
out?
by my, of course it is, because this back and forth and this cross-examination making me appear as if I'm not telling the truth before the whole world is not the easy way out.
Does it look like you are not telling the truth?
Because that is what you are trying to insinuate.
But does
that
it look like it? That you're not speaking the truth?
That is what you are insinuating.
Perhaps that is a conclusion to be drawn from this.
If you want to draw your conclusions...
No, I don't draw the conclusions. That is for the commission to draw.
Yes, but you have already drawn some conclusions with regards to me.
And no, I have not. I have just presented the evidence to you and made a proposition to you. These two stories, the three consistent stories of these three witnesses, a victim, somebody who was there with you during the interrogation, and the spectator, all three of them say you did it. And you sat there and saying, well, it just happened when I was threatening him, but it wasn't me. Which of these two stories is more believable?
Well, sir, now you're trying to trivialize my testimony.
No, I am characterizing your testimony as it is.
But, sir, you are not supposed to characterize my evidence. You are supposed to present it, analyze it, and present it to the commission, sir.
But it is my job to put propositions to you. And in putting propositions to you, I cannot do it in a vacuum. It has to be in a particular context. And that is why I have to characterize the evidence as I see it and put it to you. It behoves you to answer which way you want. You either accept the proposition or you deny it. That's the way to conduct a cross-examination, isn't it?
What I want to know is the purpose of the proposition. Is it that you feel that it is going to change my testimony for admission?
But possibly. I would expect candor.
Yes.
In the testimony.
Of course.
So if I feel that perhaps putting a question in a particular way can elicit the truth out of you, I would do so. That's why I'm here.
You are saying that what I've told you is not the truth.
What I'm saying is that there are two conflicting positions, and I have put those positions to you. You tell us what you believe is the truth.
Sir, I believe myself. Otherwise, I would not have stated this evidence before the commission. And I would not have gone out on a limb. I would not have.
And in spite of the fact that all the evidence to the contrary is strong, it corroborates one another, in every material particular, you still believe that that evidence is wrong.
It doesn't corroborate in every material particular. There are inconsistencies in their own testimonies, and I stand by my own, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. The commission would make up its mind on that particular issue.
Yes,
so
sir.
Now let us move on. And Sana Sabali. He was subsequently arrested, wasn't he?
Yes, sir, he was.
Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, sir. Prior to Sana Sabali's arrest and detention at Mile 2, I would say a number of weeks. I cannot remember exactly how long. Jammeh was, well, he had informed me that he believed that Sana wanted to launch a coup, that he was going to unseat him Either he was going to shoot him or tie him up and take him to to depose him. Yes, sir.
What you said is that Jame told you that
Yes, sir.
he believed.
Yes, sir.
Did he give you any evidence to support that belief?
Well, as time, he kept on informing me of his fear of what was going to happen. It was something that was constant, that that Sana was going to take over. And as time went on, he became stronger in his accusations and was pointing to the behavior of Sana.
Two things.
Yes, sir.
First, Sana wanted to depose him. The second is he was pointing to the behavior of Sana.
Yes, sir. As proof, as evidence for me.
What in the behavior of Sana did he use as evidence to show that this man really intended to depose him or to kill him?
Yes, sir. The relationship between members of council had deteriorated to a point.
And this was just almost 6 months into the AFPRC government. Is that right?
That is correct, sir.
Proceed, please.
Yes, sir. In fact, I think I said yesterday that even the selection of council, the manner in which it happened, might have been the starting point for animosity.
Animosity between who and who?
Yes, between Jammeh and Sana Sabali, and between Sana Sabali and myself.
And your relationship with Sana, personally, did
Yes.
it in fact deteriorate further?
My relationship with Sana did deteriorate because there were two events that occurred which actually brought a rift between myself and Sana.
Bad blood between the two of you?
A rift, a rift. We would not see eye to eye. I believe that there was a rift, there was, I wouldn't go to say that it was bad blood, but obviously there were problems, and I can explain, I mean, if you would, if you wish.
Proceed, Mr. Singhateh. If this is something you think you should explain, please, by all means, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The first incident occurred shortly after the 1994 takeover. I had visited Auntie Jojo, Uncle Sarah Jangha's wife. He was the former Secretary General, to see how they were doing. And Auntie Jojo had complained that her Mitsubishi Gallant had been seized by Sana Sabali, and that it did not belong to government. And it was seized because he believed that it was a government car. And I promised her that I would do my best to retrieve it because I knew it didn't belong to government. She was a genuine businesswoman, and the car belonged to her. So when I approached, am I speaking too fast for the interpreters? Yes. Or is it fine? Yes.
Okay,
okay,
they said
yeah.
you're fine, but
Okay.
if you can slow down a bit.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes. I'm sorry. So when I approached Sana, he told me no, that the car belonged to government. So I tried to explain, and we disagreed. It was an exchange of words. Now, ordinarily, he's my senior. He was senior to me in the army, senior to me in government. I should not have. But the manner in which he responded, I didn't like. And so I felt that I needed to put my points across, and it didn't end that well. He refused to release the vehicle, and that was it. Now, secondly, the second incident was also involving another vehicle, but this one was closer to home. This one involved my family. Now, my official vehicle went for maintenance, and in the interim, I was given a vehicle to use until my official vehicle was returned from the garage. Now, I traveled and with Sadibu Hydra. Now, in my absence, I understand that he called the house and got my brother Peter, and he demanded the vehicle. And Peter told him, well, I'm sorry, sir, when Edward travels, he gives the key to the official vehicle to my mom so that it would not be misused by any of the soldiers in his absence. And my mom would not even relinquish the key to me. And Sana Sabali got mad. He said that that Peter should tell my mother to release the keys immediately, and then he hung up. But it didn't end there. I think he called again, and then demanded the vehicle. And Peter told him, "Well, my mother still has not released the keys." So what Sana told Peter was, "Look, if your mother does not release the keys, I will send a truck of soldiers and they will come and arrest your mother and the key." So Peter had panicked, because I leave my number whenever I travel. But by then there were no mobile phones. You call the house and leave your number. They called and informed me of this. And he begged me, just release the vehicle back to Sana. So with my family's security at stake, and me not being there, and Peter not being a council member, just a mere officer in the Gambia National Army, I asked my mother to release the key and the vehicle, which was done. But I called Jammeh and I complained, and I told him that, look, this is what is happening. Are we not all supposed to be a family? How can a colleague threaten my mother of all people? I am not accepting this. I cut the mission short. We came back. Immediately I landed and Jammeh knew that I was around. He sent for me and we had a meeting in his office together. I can recall, I know Sadi Buhaida was there. I was there, Sana Sabali was there with Jammeh. I cannot recall Yankuba. It's possible he was there, but I'm not sure. So I confronted Sana. And I addressed him very bitterly because I was hurt. He apologized though, but the damage had already been done. And I felt that if this is a colleague that would threaten my family in my absence, you can threaten me with arrest or detention or whatever for not obeying a command, but my family for not doing anything. I felt very hurt. And
proceed.
Yes, sir. And anyway, to cut the story a little bit shorter, he apologized, but the damage had already been done. Now, so that was the problems between me and Sana. So with Jammeh, sorry, sir, yes.
You must have been so terribly hurt by this as to abort an official mission you were sent to.
Of course I was. I was hurt and concerned for the security of my family.
But there was no security threat at the time, was there?
Well, if the vice head of state tells your family that he's going to come and arrest a key with a truckload of soldiers, that, of course, is a security threat.
I understand that, but that threat was already averted by handing over the vehicle and the keys, wasn't it?
But nonetheless, we all knew of Sana's erratic behavior.
But the mere fact that this threat was already neutralized and you still decided to abort that mission because you were that angry, doesn't it reflect a little bit of an extreme behavior on that occasion?
Absolutely not.
You
In
think
fact,
you
no.
think that was measured action?
Well, sir, I felt that I needed assurances. I needed assurances that my family were safe. And coming back on the ground and getting them was the only thing that I could do.
Couldn't it have waited?
Waited. My mother, my family, soldiers. It could not.
But this threat was not imminent. The threat was averted.
As far as I was concerned, the mere fact that it was made was an indication that we were not safe. I didn't know where this was going to end up. If it was for a mere vehicle, a key, it could be for something else that I might not know. So I needed assurance and, assurance that we were safe, we were okay, and this was not going to happen again. So I immediately cut short my mission.
You think that that is not extreme anger, that is measured action. That's what you think.
Wherever I travel in the world, if my family is threatened or they feel threatened, I would travel back to make sure that they are safe and they are also reassured. Remember, it's not only about me. It is also about my family. If my mother and my wife and my children do not feel safe, I have to reassure them.
But this is the crux of the matter is, does it really matter for you whether the threat is imminent or whether the threat is averted already? Does it make a difference to you?
Of course it does. But this was persistent because Sana Sabali was there, and if he could go to that extent, then he could do it again. So that's why I needed assurance. I needed to allay the fears of my family and also have my own assurance that this was not going to happen again. Your family being threatened. I'm not talking, if it was myself, I could understand, that's fine. But my family, that alone is extreme and unacceptable.
You have deep-seated anger against Sana for that, correct?
I know where you are trying to drive, but that is not the case. It had nothing to do with any judgment in the future. I know what you're trying to do, sir.
Mr. Singhateh, maybe you're trying to smell too far away.
No.
We are here now.
We are here, and we will reach there in a few minutes, and you will raise it again, and everyone is here.
We all know the drill.
Absolutely,
so
sir.
Anticipate the questions and deal with them. But it's quite obvious, isn't it, Mr. Singhateh, that there was bad blood between yourself and Sana Sabali during this period?
Like I had said, he apologized, we made up, but my trust in him had dwindled, and there was a rift. This is the way I put it, this is the way I see it. If you interpret it as bad blood, I didn't look at it as bad blood at the time. We would have still gone into combat together if we had to go into action subsequently, and I would have followed his orders and stood by him as my commander. I would have done that as a loyal soldier.
And with opportunity also to stick the dagger at him, you probably would.
Oh, no, sir. I take exception to that, sir.
Well, let's see what happens afterwards.
No, sir. We will not see what happens afterwards. I'd never stabbed anyone in the back, sir.
I am not suggesting that you stab anybody in the back.
No, but you said, and take the opportunity to do so, sir. That is a bit expensive.
Well, don't take any offense. I don't mean to be offensive. Okay. If you find it offensive, I withdraw that. Okay. But my purpose is not to offend anybody. What I said is I put this proposition to you. You told us that in spite of that rift, you can go to war with him.
Yes.
And gladly,
of course,
serve as his subordinate.
Absolutely.
Follow him as your commander.
Yes, definitely.
I put the contrary proposition to you.
No,
And
that
with
is...
opportunity, if you have the dagger to stick in him, you would stick it. Answer yes or no.
No, sir. That's really, I really do take exception to the fact that you would even put that proposition to me. That is unfair. And I would never have done that to anyone.
I think that is an answer that would satisfy me. I would take it that in spite of the rift, if you have an opportunity to be fighting with Sana, you would not fight him. That is what you suggest.
Of course, I would follow him and follow his orders.
Okay, but if the tables turns, he becomes your perceived enemy, what would you do?
Well, that is a different scenario.
But that is exactly the scenario that I'm trying to portray.
What I'm trying to say...
The opposite to what you suggest. That in spite of that rift, if you were to go to war with him, presupposing that you are on the same side, you would willingly follow him as your commander.
Absolutely.
Okay. But you would also agree with me that the opposite is true. That in view of that rift that is in between you, right, if a problem were to emanate between you, you would not mind sticking the dagger in him if you have the opportunity to do so. That is the proposition I am making. Do you agree or you would not do it?
You see, I have a problem with the way you have put this, this proposition. First of all, the idiom sticking the dagger to him means to betray somebody. That is a betrayal. And so I don't
take it so. Sticking
yes,
the dagger
yes, it's
means,
a saying. It's
means stabbing the person. It does not necessarily have a connotation of it being a betrayal.
Well, if at all that is what you mean.
That is what I mean.
What I will say is that in spite of anything, whether there was animosity between us or not, if he became an enemy, then we would have to deal with each other subsequently.
Okay, let's proceed then.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what happened after you have received, after this particular incident, and you returned, you cut short your mission, and you returned to Gambia? There was a meeting at Jammeh's office.
Yes, sir.
He apologized.
Yes, sir, he did.
And then what happened afterwards?
Well, we shook hands and then buried the hatchet. But like I said...
But you did not break the rift.
Obviously, like I told you, my faith and trust in him had dwindled. And obviously that was, I mean, it created a rift.
Proceed, please.
So, with regarding him and Jammeh at the time, truly his attitude towards Jammeh had also taken a turn south. He was not that respectful as when we started off. It gradually dwindled to an extent where it culminated. I would not say culminated because there were several events. I cannot recall them off the top of my head. I do know that some of them happened, and Jammeh did explain. But the major one, and one that I had seen, was when Sana Sabali had just finished work. He left, he went downstairs through the back staircase, not the front staircase of the building. And because the former president's office is where the current vice president sits. The former vice president's office is directly underneath the former president's office. And they share the same stairwell at the back to go down. And as Minister of Defense, I was underneath, and I also share the same stairwell, but I'm on the ground floor. Now, Sabali came down to go, and Jammeh followed almost immediately. When Sana Sabali was about to enter his car, Jammeh called him, Vice, and Sana Sabali made a gesture like this, as if to insinuate that he was not willing to answer. And so Jammeh pointed to me as, Jammeh pointed that incident to me as proof of the fact that this man had come so far, he doesn't respect him anymore, and he's hell-bent on getting rid of him.
Is that proof of the suggestion that Sana wanted to depose Jammeh?
Absolutely not proof. But I am telling you what Jammeh tried to show me as proof, okay, through Sana Sabali's behavior.
So you would agree with me that at most or at best, this just amounted to proof of disrespect by Sana of Jammeh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And nothing more.
Well, of course, at that point, however, one could be suspicious of the fact that something is wrong. You don't just get disrespectful like that and expect things to be smooth, that there's nothing going on. There must be an underlying reason.
Fair enough. Proceed.
Yes, sir. So, as time drew near, Jammeh had informed me that Sana Sabali was going to launch on a particular day. And prior to that, he was also trying to tell me that, look, Sana Sabali sees you as one of my allies. And if he comes for me, he's going to come for you.
Are you suggesting that Jammeh was brainwashing you? He was trying to make you believe that both you and him were Sana's enemies, and that if you do not act, Sana would act first, and both of you would be in trouble.
I will break that down into pieces because there's too much in it. First of all, brainwashing, no, he was not brainwashed, but he was trying to convince me that this was the case. Secondly, it was not that he was asking for a preemptive strike. He never mentioned that. He just wanted to convince me that, look, this is on the table, it is going to happen, and he's also going to come for you.
We received evidence that you and Jammeh planned to arrest Sana Sabali weeks before his arrest. Is that true?
That is not true.
Well, Mr. Dembanjai, who was present, explained an interesting story. He said, taking it from the top of my head, that it was close to Sana's naming ceremony, and he was at State House. You and Jammeh were walking, and he was behind you. And Jammeh was to select a ram that he was going to send to Sana as a gift for his naming ceremony. And behind you, he had the two of you conversing. You told Jammeh, according to him, that, but sir, we have to do it now. And Jammeh said, let's wait after his naming ceremony. What do you say to that?
That is completely false.
But strangely, Sana just got arrested a day after his naming ceremony.
Yes, sir. But this statement uttered by Dembanjai is completely false. It is not true.
Well,
anyway, what I can tell you is that the ram that I am aware of was not for Sana's naming ceremony. It's possible that one was sent, but the ram that I am aware of was a charity that Jammeh wanted to take out to subdue both Sana Sabali and Haidara. And I will tell you what he did.
Like the Black Bull, was it?
No. This was not, well, like what he did. He he took me, in fact, Dembanjai was not even there. But what he did, he took me, I think there was Khalifa Bajinka and a couple of others, into the garden behind the State House itself, the house. And he told me that he was told by a Marabu or so that he should bury the ram, that these people were going to come for him, but he should bury the ram. And if the...
Dead or alive?
I'm coming, yes. He should bury the ram alive. And if the ram resists and shakes, then obviously there would be heavy resistance and fighting.
Cruelty to animals.
It was sad. If the ram does not, then everything would go smooth and they would be arrested. So they dug the hole, a couple of his orderlies, I cannot remember who and who, they put this poor ram inside and buried it. That's what they did.
And Edward Singhateh, what did he do?
My boss is taking out the charity. What am I? He believes in this thing. He believes in it so much that he doesn't do anything without doing charity. What can I do? I couldn't save the poor ram.
Your boss was doing cruelty to animals.
Yes,
And
exactly.
you were there, you sat there and said nothing? I'm just asking questions, Mr. Singhateh.
He believed that that had a direct connection with his own security and livelihood. So I don't think it would have even been wise to interfere. What I can assure you is that I abhor cruelty to animals. I don't even kill my own Tobaski ram. It's killed by somebody else. So, after the charity, sorry, sir, yes?
Dembanjai, he did not talk about a charity, especially one as graphic as burying a ram alive. He talked about a ram being sent to Sanasabali as a gift for his naming ceremony, which was a few days later. But at that time, he said, the two of you planned to arrest Sanasabali.
That is not true. The ram that I'm aware of is what I have explained. I'm not aware of the ram that he sent. I'm just not aware of it. I don't doubt that he might have, but I am not aware of what he sent to Sanasabali.
At that time, did Jame give an order for any person, any council member who came to State House after 6 p.m., apart from Edward Singhateh, be shot at sight?
No, sir, not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
Let me read out to you the suggestions that were made by Mr. Dembanjai. He testified under oath, and this is what he had to say. He was asked, you are talking about orders that were given to you by Jame, that if any council member came to State House after 6 p.m., you are authorized to shoot and kill the council member. That was what he talked about before. That's what we talked about before the coffee break. And you told us that you were given the order in the presence of Edward Singhateh, who was also a council member. And he said that is correct. An order was given by Yaya Jame in your presence that any other council member who visited State House after 6 p.m. should be shot at sight.
That is not true. In fact, we used to work mostly till after 6 p.m. anyway. It was not unusual for us to be there till 8, 9, sometimes 10 o'clock at night. So I cannot see the essence of this order. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, it made sense if council members would leave work and come to State House later.
First-
Wouldn't that be what the alleged order implied?
Well, the order was not given in my presence. I'm not aware of this order, and to me, it doesn't make sense because council members were always there. Well, Sana Sabali worked there, I worked there, but Sadibu Haidara and Yankuba Ture used to frequent there. So I don't think that this order was even given.
So you dispute this order. Well, it's one thing to think it was not given, and another thing to be certain that it was not given.
What I can say, I'm certain it was not given in my presence.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's proceed. He went on to say that one day Edward Singhateh and chairman were going down. I was with them. I was following closely until in the yard when we got off the stairs outside the office towards the guard room. I heard Edward Singhateh said, "Sir, why can't we do it now?" This is just the statement that I paraphrase to you. And Yaya Jammeh said in Wolof, "Haral be after ngente bi." That is what the witness said. That too is false in your view.
That is false. I never asked Yaya Jammeh to arrest or tell him, why can't we do that at any point in time.
Can you proceed with your testimony?
Yes,
Yaya Jammeh told you that, well, look at Sabali, the way he gestured at me. This is evidence of what he wants to do. Take it from there.
Yes, sir. Like I said, he had constantly insinuated that this was going to happen. It was imminent. In fact, let me, I forgot one little detail during this Ram episode. He also stated that Yankuba was also part of it. But I told him, "Sir, Yankuba, I don't believe so. I don't think that Yankuba would involve himself in such a thing. He's not that violent in nature. And moreover, if he was part of it, he would have been here. But at the time, Yankuba was on a mission in Libya." And I also reminded him that, well, if you go ahead and blame Yankuba and Haidara and Sabali, and eventually something happens and you arrest Yankuba, there's going to only be the two of us left.
But
Yes.
at this stage, Jammeh hasn't given you anything concrete to back his claims.
That is why even with Yankuba, that is exactly what I said. It was even getting worse because with Yankuba, there was nothing to believe that he was involved at all.
Proceed, please.
Yes, sir. So, okay, Sana Sabali's naming ceremony came and went. I cannot remember whether it was the following day or the day after. No. In fact, it was not the following day. It was not the immediate day after his naming ceremony because we were all there in Brikama. And we came home late. It must have been in the following days. Now, Jammeh had told... Yes, sir.
No, proceed.
So Jammeh had told me that he had got information that Sana was going to launch that night, this particular night. And the night before he was arrested, shortly after the naming ceremony, within the time frame. So he told me that he was going to come for me first with Sadibu Haidara, and then after me, he was going to go and attack him in Banjul. So I stayed outside with my guards within the compound all night waiting for this imminent attack. And it never came. intermittently, Jammeh would call on the landline, which I could hear from where we were, and I would pick it and then tell him that no, there is no Sana. You know, this happened until shortly before Fajr, I believe, around Fajr, and he called again, and I said, no, there's no Sana. He said, no, he's going to come and then close the bridge, and then attack State House. So
did he give you any basis of his knowledge, the source of his information? Did he provide any?
Well, he told me it was intelligence that he received. I don't know whether it was from the NIA or whether it was from military intelligence. I really don't know, and I did not ask.
As Minister of Defense,
Yes.
wouldn't you be entitled to receive such intelligence?
I ordinarily should have been. However, there was a system whereby the intelligence personnel report directly to the head of state.
Yes, but that is true because the intelligence unit is under the office of the president. But as Minister of Defense, you would agree that you were entitled to intelligent information, correct?
It was only subsequently that the intelligence, like Mr. Sambaba or Daba Marena, knowing that I have been deprived of certain information or certain intelligence, that they would brief me in private.
But even at this time, you had a very close relationship with Mr. Sambaba. True.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he was the head of the NIA, wasn't he?
Absolutely, he was.
And he also deprived you of this intelligence information?
Maybe at that time he was not aware that Jammeh was depriving the council, including his deputy, of information.
But that is quite interesting. That is quite interesting because as Minister of Defense, you are entitled to that information anyway.
Yes, that is true.
So he should have provided that information.
No.
To the Minister of Defense, yes.
No, they're under the president, and they report to the president. The president shares with whom he deems fit.
No, but this is national security information. Obviously, the Ministry of Defense or the Minister of Defense ought to be informed.
I am quite sure up till the time that he left, there are certain things that didn't go anywhere. He was the only one who received the information and kept it or dealt with it as he deemed fit.
But seeing that up to that stage, Jammeh has not given you anything concrete, anything that is different from the allegation against Yankuba Toure, which you did not believe anyway. Didn't you think it was necessary that you inquire further?
I didn't inquire. I didn't believe him 100%. I was taking things as they go.
Wasn't it prudent that you did so, that you inquired?
About the coup? About the alleged plot against Jammeh?
Yes.
Well, as long as Jammeh was feeding me, I felt that perhaps he was getting information perhaps from a credible source, or whether it was intelligence, actual intelligence, or information or rumor. But I honestly did not inquire, and I did not try to get to the bottom of it. Definitely I didn't.
Proceed, please.
Yes, sir. So, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Then the night before, like I said, after Fajr, around Fajr time, he called and told me that, Sana Sabali, should I allow you to prepare whatever you're going to throw next?
Don't be. It's
Sir?
all right, Mr. Singhateh.
No, it's not all right.
The questions will
I'm the
still
one who
come.
receives the stones, so, okay.
Don't worry, the stones would be thrown at the right time. You see, if you just admit the truth, the stones wouldn't land very heavily.
Sir,
Thank you.
I am giving you the truth.
Thank you, Mr. Singhateh. Proceed, please.
Yes, sir. So, after he informed me about Sana intending to take the bridge, I went ahead to the bridge with my orderlies. And Sana Sabali passed at his usual time. There was no event. So I followed to State House some distance after, and then I told Jammeh that no, we never did anything and he's in his office. And then Jammeh told me that no, he's going to launch it. Yes, he's going to launch the coup. So for the first time,
Mr. Singhateh,
yes, sir.
At this stage, you and Jammeh plotted to disarm Sana Sabali.
No, sir, not at that point. Let me explain. Yes, let me explain.
Listen to the question,
okay, sir.
And you answer. At this stage, Sana had gone to the provinces with a cache of weapons, and he had returned. You made an effort with Jammeh to have him disarmed or to have him stripped of those weapons, didn't you?
No, sir.
Let me read out to you what Sana Sabali had to say.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, I have your NIA statement on that.
Okay.
Here he said as follows. I asked him, before this, what was your relationship like with Edward Singhateh? And he said, okay, if I should fast track, that is to move forward a bit on issues, he said, the next day, that very Thursday, it is later I had to recollect and put dots together. Then I knew, yes, that was. So I asked, what did you know when you connected the dots together? He said, because he came in the morning. He said, we have to hand over the weapons because the civilians are afraid of these weapons in the State House. And of course, we were dealing with civilians. The transcript reads, we were doing with civilians. So that must be a mistake. It should be, we were dealing with civilians. So I complied. I said, I would bring the weapons in the afternoon. So when I went home, I asked the guards to bring out these weapons, clean them, and take them back to the armory in State House. Is this true or false?
No, sir. What Sana is referring to right now is completely different. These were heavy weapons. They were support weapons. They were not the normal weapons that he and his soldiers would carry. So they needed to be returned to the armory. They're not weapons that you can even use in close quarter combat, and they would not have been effective in State House. So it's completely beside the point.
No, it's not beside the point.
It is.
The question I asked?
Yes, sir.
Is that did you and Jammeh at that stage make an effort to remove weapons from Sana Sabali, those who are in his possession?
Sir, the weapons that were retrieved were support weapons. The 12.7 millimeter anti-aircraft.
But these are weapons nonetheless.
Yes, but they are not weapons that are ordinarily in the possession of Sana and his people. They maintained their weapons.
Mr. Singhateh,
yes.
I am not questioning the lawfulness.
No, it's not about the lawfulness.
Just hear me out. I'm not questioning the lawfulness or the reasonableness of your demand for him to surrender the weapons to the armory. I'm not questioning that. The question I asked is, did this happen as a matter of fact?
What happened as a matter of fact was that the support weapons were requested to be kept. But I want to make one important point, because people listening, or perhaps members of the commission, might feel that Sana Sabali was disarmed. He was not disarmed. Those support weapons were not meant for everyday use. It's different from their personal weapons, which they kept. They kept their 40mm grenade launchers, they kept their AK-47s, they kept their personal rifles and their pistols. But the anti-aircraft weapon, obviously, and I think the mortars too, really, were retrieved, and for good reason.
Well, Sana has a different take on it, and this is what he had to say. He continued his testimony by saying that he was to return this to the armory in State House, where they belongs to. And he, Edward Singhateh, on this particular evening, he visited me in the Fajara residence. But for me later, I come to put dots together. He was there to confirm that we have no weapons. I said, weapons for what? He said, in the event, if there was going to be fighting between me and them, they would overpower us. And then I asked, and what happened on that Friday? And then he went on to say that on that Friday, it was normal. I was writing a letter. That is when he was arrested. So in Sana's mind, the effort to strip him of those weapons all formed part of the conspiracy between yourself and Yaya Jammeh to have him arrested and purge him permanently from the AFPRC. What do you say to that?
No, that unfortunately is misconceived, and I'm not surprised, because he was the victim in this case, but because obviously we'll try to connect dots and reason, but to me it was not related, and it had nothing to do with his arrest.
But in hindsight, wouldn't that be a reasonable conclusion for anybody in Sana's position to arrive at?
If I was in Sana's shoes, perhaps I would also jump to the same conclusion. So
therefore,
yes.
That conclusion is reasonable under the circumstances.
Well, viewing what he has been through, of course, it's reasonable enough for him. But I can tell you, that was not the reason.
Proceed, please.
So when... Yes, sir.
Proceed, please.
Okay, I'm just trying to see which boulder is coming my way next, that's all. But, sorry. Yeah. But anyway, to be on a more serious note, when I had informed Jammeh that Sana was in his office, he told me that no, he's going to launch this coup. Now, what I deducted was that he was afraid of Sana. He was petrified. He really felt, well, from what I could see, he really felt threatened by Sana. Yes, sir.
You believed that he was really threatened by Sana?
Yes, sir.
You did not believe 100% the story that Jammeh was telling you? He offered no concrete evidence apart from just his mere statements and utterances. You still went along with him?
Went along with what? I will tell you at the point where I actually went along. I'm not there yet. I was still not bought 100%. But because I was reporting, like I told you the night before, when he was called, there's no Sana. All of that indicated that perhaps the fear was misconceived. And even when I reported to him that the Sana did not take the bridge, nothing happened still. So when I came to the office and I informed him, for the first time I saw Jammeh appear before 8 p.m., sorry, before 8 a.m. He came and knocked on my door at the Ministry of Defense, the back door through the stairwell, and he was in my office. And he told me that Sana definitely is going to launch this coup. So I went together with him upstairs. We went together to his office, and he told me, I will prove to you that they want. Well, all along, when I say Sana, I mean the two, both Sana and Sadibou Haidara. This is what. Yes,
sorry, Mr.
Yes,
Singhateh. Allow me to just interject at this point.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, it looks very likely that we would not finish today. Perhaps, Mr. Singhateh, can you indicate whether you can come tomorrow or you can come on Monday? And then the commissioners would decide whether they would take you on tomorrow or whether we would postpone till Monday. But it's quite clear that we won't finish today. And I don't think there is any point in pushing till 4:30 or 5 o'clock because we would not finish. We still have two big topics to cover.
Yes,
So what would you suggest, Mr. Singhateh? And
well,
then the commissioners would make a decision.
Well, sir, I can remember when you suggested yesterday that we might have to go sit on Friday. One of the commissioners' head was shaking no. But I just want to say I'm at your disposal. If you want me to appear on Monday, I will appear on Monday gladly. And I will wait for any time that you are ready with me and take my leave. Yes, sir. Thank you. So.
Madam Chair?
In the meantime, you can also have my passport, just in case you think that I'm going to go somewhere that I'm not supposed to go.
But Mr. Singhateh, you know me. You know I wouldn't be needing it.
Well, it was taken at the beginning, so I'm just wondering
but
whether you still need it.
Giving back at the beginning.
It's just a confirmation whether you trust me enough to stay around.
If I didn't, it wouldn't have been given back in the first place.
Okay, sir. I definitely will wait until the commission sits, and then I will gladly appear.
Thank you. You are available on Monday, are you?
Yes, sir. Yeah, sorry, yes, ma, I am. Yes, ma.
Lead counsel?
Madam Chair, yes, we can come on Monday. In the meantime, arrangements were made with Dr. Dafe, who was to continue his testimony, and he was given a particular block of time to testify. But we would make arrangements and see if it's not possible to have his sifted, then we would have Mr. Singhateh interpose Dr. Dafe and thereafter proceed with Mr. Singhateh if need be.
What timing had you given to Dr. Dafe?
Second session, I think, on Monday.
You think you'll need more than one session on Monday? With the honorable request?
Well, we just give it a try and see. I would make an effort to finish by 11:30, 12. You know, but I cannot. My estimates of time have been woefully inaccurate, so I wouldn't risk giving one again. But we would make our best effort to complete. If we can't, we can interpose Dr. Dafe and then come back to Mr. Singhateh.
That is if he is available.
Yes, ma, I will make myself available.
Well, we thank you very much for making yourself available and for agreeing to suspend until Monday. Lead counsel, any other matter before we close?
No, Madam Chair. Okay. I think this would be a convenient point to stop, Mr. Singhateh.
As you wish, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. See you 10 o'clock on Monday.